And for the Greek, it's foolishness, which I understand, which I really, really can relate to. For me, it's about wisdom, smarts, getting information, right? The web. I surf the web so much, reading so many, irrelevant things. I study so many things. Sometimes people go, "Where'd you get that?" It's, I have absolutely no idea, but I know I read it somewhere. Of course, they don't believe me. They think I made it up. But that's okay. But the Greeks were about this wisdom and stuff. And they give them a simple message. Again, they just don't get it. So again, what is your stumbling block? You may say, I'm not a Greek. I'm not a Jew. But maybe your stumbling block is pain. Maybe you've had to endure so much pain in your life. You say, there can't be a God. There's no way. Maybe you've suffered through just unfortunate things that have happened to you in your life where you didn't deserve them. And you say, there can't be a God because all of these things have happened to me. Maybe you've been passed over many, many times where you did all the right things, and yet you're still at the bottom. No raises, no promotions, no nothing. Maybe you're the one sitting in here that's has the misfortune of, with all the stuff going on in the economy, wondering, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my house, my car, my credit card debt, all those things. But but the proverb says something really interesting that we have to understand. It says it rains on the good and the evil. Can you live with that? Is that one of your stumbling blocks? I find that concept is one of the biggest stumbling blocks for people to come to know God. If God is so good, if God is so loving, if God is so kind, if He's so merciful, if He's so graceful, then why does He let this happen to so many people? Quite frankly, I had to deal with that early on, and you know what? I'm honest. I say, I don't know. My stumbling block was I thought Christianity was kind of like a fairy tale. Y'all know what a fairy tale is? Too good to be true. Kind of fake, you make it up. You ever read the Bible? Hey, read the Bible one time through and listen to all these crazy things. A dude being swallowed by a whale. Come on. Hey, I'm a new believer. Someone say, yeah, Jonah was swallowed by a whale. I'm like, oh, dude, you believe that? Don't use that story on somebody who was like me. I was like, oh my goodness. Then the whole, God, even the creation story. It's kind of mythical. It's kind of like Samson is like Hercules. Or Thor. Anybody read comic books? Fantastic Four, the X-Men, then there's Samson, I'm like, oh, yeah, I can relate to Samson. He got superpowers. Yeah, and the woman messing it up, I can get that. Cutting his hair, you see. But, for me, my stumbling block was, are they brainwashing me? Are they brainwashing me? Is this Christianity a brainwashing tool? There was my stumbling block. Wasn't about wisdom, wasn't about rules, but it was about brainwashing. Why? Because I never want to be looked back on 200 years from now as one of those stupid people. Okay, you understand? You're with me. What is your stumbling block? Verse 26, it says, brothers, think of what you were when you were called. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many were influential. Not many were noble birth. But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. He chose the lowly things of the world and the despised things and the things that are not to nullify the things that are. We have to understand some culture here, okay? Most of us aren't born into nobility. we don't get, you know what I mean? That doesn't make sense. In the Jewish culture, if you had money, you were blessed by God. If you had good health, you were blessed by God. If you were poor, God didn't like you. If you were sick, you did something bad to deserve it. Does that make sense? So they had a cultural difference. So when Paul was saying, he was saying, all you people who weren't considered blessed, you can go to the blessed be, the Beatitudes in the Bible and kind of get this understanding. But everybody who didn't have in that society was cursed by God. And so Paul here is trying to say, all of you who were nobodies in our culture are now somebody because God has made you somebody, and your message is powerful. And God is using, quote, the foolish things of that culture to shame the wise. Just think about Jesus and the Pharisees. Jesus was from Nazareth. I looked at some pictures of Nazareth recently. It's kind of dumpy. It is. And I started reading some commentaries from Jew guys, about, the Israel and all this thing, and they still think it's a dump. Now it's got this spiritual aura to it, but they don't think it's much of anything. And you have to understand, Jesus came from Nazareth, the Messiah of all things. They weren't buying it, the Pharisees. They weren't buying it. So our culture today esteems the one who is nobody, who becomes somebody. We have a different mindset here. We esteem that. But you see, the problem with that, with God, is simply this: you begin to boast in yourself. Look at me. I came from nowhere. And now, check me out. I'm preaching today in front of 70 people. Y'all look at me like I'm somebody. Maybe smart, maybe intelligent, maybe a nice singer, maybe handsome. I'm somebody today. But you know what? I'm just Joseph. And the only reason I stand here right now is because God, in his sense of humor, decided to say, I think you're the one to do this. I love a clip in Bruce Almighty. Watch it. It's an amazing. There's a few clips that might stretch a few of your things, but there's but it's a very, very insightful thoughts where God is telling, Bruce, he says, why me? He says, you just have a way to bring joy to people and make people laugh. That's why I chose you. Really quite silly if you think about it intellectually. But that's how God works. You with me? Jeremiah's with me. I like him. He's always with me. What do you got to say, Jeremiah? Nothing. Huh? You talking to me? Verse 29, so that no one may boast before him. It is because of him that you are in Christ Jesus, who has become for us wisdom from God. That is our righteousness, holiness, and redemption. Therefore, as it is written, let him or her who boasts, boast in the Lord. That's the foolishness. When we're sitting at our family dinners and nobody knows God and we say we're doing this thing because we feel like it's what God would want us to do, it doesn't make much sense. It just doesn't. They say, oh, cool, all right, whatever. Hope they're okay in the end. That's probably what they say.